Hey everybody, John Scuba here from 22 Financial Coaching. And in today's video, I wanted to share with you some tips as far as how you can avoid what I call the credit card bankruptcy cycle. Now, I've been a practicing bankruptcy attorney for about 15 years, and I filed thousands of bankruptcies. I met with over 10,000 people talking about serious debt problems. And so I wanted to share with you some of the insights and things that I've learned from that experience as far as what leads up to bankruptcy and then how you can avoid it going forward. Now, credit card debt is one of the main reasons people file for bankruptcy, and the statistics nationwide are pretty staggering. Right now, in 2018, there's approximately $12.73 trillion in consumer debt that's outstanding in the United States. That breaks down to about $16,000 per person in the U.S. That's a lot of credit card debt per person. Not only that, but the interest rates that you're paying on that are a little over 16%. So there's a lot of debt, it's high interest rate, and the statistics show that 60% of people do not pay off their credit cards each month. So there's a rolling balance and the debt's getting larger. So this is how I see how credit card use can lead to bankruptcy. What happens is during this cycle is in the first part is that people start to supplement their monthly income with credit cards. There's not enough money to cover all the bills, to cover expenses, to cover some of the wants, needs, whatever it is. There's a gap between the income and the expenses, and so people bridge that gap with their credit cards. And initially, this is done a little bit each time, and it's just incrementally over time where there becomes this large balance, where all of a sudden the monthly minimum on those particular cards makes it very difficult to pay. So people start looking for other options as far as how to reduce interest rates or how to eliminate the debt. This is where we see new credit cards get opened up or balance transfers occur to 0% interest for a time, which will reduce the payment for a period of time, but then it feels better for a little while, but then the interest kicks in, additional charges are added, and the monthly minimums start to, again, grow to the point where people can't make the monthly payments. This is where bankruptcy steps in, where people start to get boxed in, where they're not making the payments, they're getting sued by their creditors, or they simply just can't, their budget won't allow them to make those monthly minimum credit card payments anymore. They seek bankruptcy relief. There's different types of bankruptcy, like Chapter 7 or Chapter 13. Overwhelmingly, people choose Chapter 7 because that eliminates that credit card debt 100%. It brings immediate relief, solves that particular immediate problem, and they can move on from there. However, what I have seen in my practice is unless people change their behaviors as it relates to money and to credit card use, they essentially fall almost immediately back into the same cycle. What happens is a lot of people are surprised to know that you will become eligible for new credit cards almost immediately after filing for bankruptcy. I literally have clients tell me they get ads for pre-approved credit cards within days, if not weeks, from the time that they file their case with the court. So their bankruptcy is not even discharged, and they're already getting new, marketing to them for new credit cards. I mean, the interest rates aren't good, but they are getting approved for credit cards. And if you think about it from the creditor's perspective, you're a good segment of society to market to because one, they're going to assume that going through bankruptcy, you're going to have either no debt or significantly less debt than you have now. That's going to free up quite a bit of income that you've been paying to those monthly minimums on the other cards. And not only that, the law prohibits you from filing another Chapter 7 bankruptcy for 8 years. So they've kind of got you where they want you. They can get, you have more income to spend on the credit cards, and you can't file bankruptcy for 8 years. So you start getting these new credit cards, and I know that people intend to use them wisely in the beginning, but like I said, unless there's been really a complete change in the way that you deal with credit and you deal with money, a lot of times you fall back into those old habits. And as the years go on, again, people start supplementing their income with the credit cards, and it turns into a situation where it spirals, and 8 years later, people are back visiting with a bankruptcy attorney because they're in the same situation that they were before. So that's generally what I see in a lot of cases. Obviously not every case, but a lot of cases as far as how credit card debt can lead to a bankruptcy filing. I can tell you in my experience as a bankruptcy attorney, it's rare where I see the large catastrophic financial problem appear and people have to file for bankruptcy. We do see that more in the medical realm where something happens and there's huge medical bills or there's a car accident or something like that. But when it comes to people who are filing because of credit card debt, it tends to be this gradual thing over time that results in the bankruptcy filing. And again, it can result in a second bankruptcy filing if behaviors aren't changed. So how you can escape that cycle and even try to avoid it altogether is some of what we do here at 22 Financial Coaching. We're here to help people to have solid budgeting skills and saving skills. Now, the first thing that we recommend is that you get these skills as far as budgeting really nailed down. We recommend a zero-based budget. That means that every month you create a written budget where every dollar is accounted for before the month begins. You know exactly where your money's going to go. These are things that we teach people how to do, and it's not easy at first. It's like any skill, it takes time. Generally, we see that it takes about 3 months before people can really get this budgeting down. But it's something where having a coach can help guide you through this process, understand what it is, and really help trim some of the fat out of your budget. And the reason why this helps is because so often, like I said, I see the credit cards, they bridge this gap because there's not enough income to cover the monthly expenses. Most of the time when we drill down, there is enough income to cover the expenses. The spending is just out of control to the point where most people don't even have any idea where their money is going, and that's what causes the problem. So by creating a formal written budget, particularly after a bankruptcy where there's not a lot of debt that you're dealing with, this can show you how much disposable income you have each month, and that can lead to the next step, which is creating an emergency fund. We all know that there are emergencies out there that, car repairs, medical expenses, those kind of things are always coming up. And if you don't have any savings, that's where you put the thing on the card. And that starts that whole cycle over again. So what we recommend is that you start off with a $1,000 emergency fund. This follows right along with the Dave Ramsey baby steps. I'm a Ramsey Solutions Master financial coach, so it's no surprise that this is the way that we recommend you do this. But you start with a $1,000 emergency fund, and then you build up to the point where you have 3 to 6 months set aside in that emergency fund. This is just money in a savings type account where you have easy access to it in case something comes up, which it always does. So, and I can tell you with most people, when I say put aside 3 to 6 months of monthly expenses in an emergency fund, they truly can't even imagine what that would be like, because this cycle of using credit cards as essentially our emergency fund has been so ingrained and used for so long that it becomes difficult to even imagine having that much cash set aside. Well, when you put the zero-based budget together with the emergency fund, that's how you can escape the credit card cycle. That's how you can stop using the credit cards altogether, but for sure stop using them for things like emergencies or trying to bridge that gap in income, when in reality there probably is enough income there to cover the expenses. If you want to learn more about this, you can head on over to our website at 22%.org. That's 22%.org. You can also learn what we do as financial coaches as far as how we can help you in putting together a zero-based budget and start putting together that emergency fund to avoid these problems altogether. Thanks for watching today.